Yeah, they don't go FASHOLA. And within the university system, no, I must place the unions in proper perspective for people to understand.
Hello and welcome to the program. To go or to stay, that seems to be the new face-off between the Senate and the presidency over the chairmanship of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. Now, it was a face-off waiting to happen after the Senate rejected the confirmation of EFCC boss twice. Now, the presidency, however, retained him in acting capacity, while some senior lawyers argue that Magu does not need Senate confirmation to head the commission. Others disagree. Now, the vice president also said the Constitution, that according to him now, in his opinion, the Constitution did not spell out in clear terms, did not spell it out in clear terms that heads of agencies and parastatals need to be cleared by the Senate. Only the ministers and ambassadors were spelled out in Section 171 of the Constitution. Of course, the Senate did not react to this statement, but political watchers knew the matter was a time bomb waiting to explode. So it was not surprising when the Senate brought up the issue when a nominee was sent to them by the acting president for confirmation. Former governor of Zamfara State, ADEHERE, who raised the motion, drew the attention of the Senate to the issue of Magu and asked his colleagues to take steps to affirm their powers as the clearinghouse of all government appointments. As a result of this, the Red Chamber suspended clearing of any nominees sent to it by the presidency until the acting president retracts the statement about Magu's nomination. As it is now, the machinery of government may be temporarily grounded as a result of the lawmakers' stand to reject any approval by the executive. Nigerians have also been reacting to this development. While some say the Senate is right to insist on strict adherence to the Constitution, some believe the Senate has given itself excess powers, which is detrimental to the survival of democracy. Some have also said the failure of the acting president to obey the Senate and replace Magu constitutes an impeachable offense in which the acting president, may be impeached. As a matter of fact, the issue actually came up in the Senate. Now, what is the way out of this situation? How can the Senate and the presidency resolve the gray areas for smooth working relationship? And let me just say this, that not quite long ago, of course, we got a statement, of course, from the presidency. The president's spokesperson actually came out to say that what the acting president said at the time, and at the time he was actually vice president. As a matter of fact, when he made that statement, the president was still in the country. Well, what the president's spokesperson has said is that was the personal opinion of the acting president. And of course, the acting president was only reacting to questions posed at him, as a matter of fact, by journalists. And indeed, the Attorney General of the Federation has also spoken along that line, that it's not the official position of the government. And I guess that's one of the reasons why the presidency, of course, had to send that nominee to the Senate. But of course, the Senate decided not to confirm the nominee and has chosen not to treat or handle or confirm any nominee at all until, according to the Senate, the vice president retracts his statement. Joining me to discuss this and more, I have Honorable Babatunde Ogala, who's a lawyer and, of course, a former member of the Lagos State House of Assembly with us. And joining us on the line from another part of Lagos, I have Senator Olorunniyi Mamora, who used to be the Deputy Senate Minority Leader and, of course, a former senator, if I'm allowed to say that. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us on the program. Let me start with you, Senator Mamora. Just give me your take on what you see unfolding, this face-off now between the Senate and the presidency.
Well, I think it's not a palatable situation, to say the least. It's quite unfortunate that under a government elected and the arms of government controlled by the same party, All Progressives Congress, that is, both at the level of the executive and the level of the National Assembly, that we're witnessing this kind of thing is really not the best. It means there is some kind of a disconnect between the two institutions, which does not augur well for the smooth running of a government. I don't want to believe that the acting president did say that it's only the ministers and is it the ambassadors or what, you know, from your intro. These are the only people meant to be confirmed by the Senate. I'm sure, I want to believe that the acting president must have been misrepresented or quoted out of context. I want to believe that he wouldn't or he couldn't have said that. But be that as it may, I think we should be looking at which way forward. And the way forward for me is to have a reset, so to speak, of the system, that is between the executive and the National Assembly. You know, when I say reset, I'm talking of the whole concept of relationship between the executive and the National Assembly, which for me ought to be based on the principles of cooperation, collaboration, coordination, consultation, and of course what I call communication. These are very critical principles that must exist between the executive and the legislature in order to have good governance.
Let me come to you, Honorable Babatunde Ogala. It got to the level that some senators started saying what the vice president, the acting president now, that what his statement, as a matter of fact, and the fact that the presidency has, refused to remove Magu as the chairman of, the acting chairman now of the EFCC, could amount to an impeachable offense. As a matter of fact, we even saw during the debate on the floor of the Senate where even a senator actually got up to say, well, that since the president was not around, and then you have the acting president, that, can't you have that in a situation where because the acting president, of course, traveled out of the country to attend the AU summit, and that, we should have another acting president.
Well, I think that's a statement from Senator, I think it was Abaribe. I must say was grossly irresponsible. And I say this with all respect and all sense of responsibility. Coming from a 3-time senator, I think it's his 3rd time.
Yeah, exactly.
A 3-time senator shows that the man has not learned anything. It's either of two things: he wants to set the country on fire. Section 144 of the Constitution, which prescribes that when the president is out of office or is on vacation, is unable to attend to his duties, that he should hand over to his deputy or his vice in an acting capacity, is explicit. In this instance, the acting president was attending to official duties in Addis Ababa, and he went out for only 2 days to attend to official duties. And he has not in any way transmitted to you, because the law also says he must issue after he has transmitted the letter. He didn't transmit it, and you are now suggesting that since the vice president traveled for 2 days, we should have the Senate president to go and act. I mean, with all respect to Abaribe, even though I'm sure he said that, I could see that he busted out laughing at the point on the floor of the Senate, which portrays how unserious he took the serious issue of governance and such a sensitive issue that he could even think about it. I think it was between him and Senator Yerima that were trying to create that mischief. I mean, such crises, we don't know which will consume or not consume. But be that as it may, coming back to
yeah, exactly. The Senate now insisting,
now insisting that
and asking the Vice President to
retract his comments. Like you had rightly noted, the Vice President, he was reacting. It was the media men were interviewing him.
Exactly.
I mean, I think they had the microphones to his mouth, and they said, "What is your reaction to a comment by Femi Falana SAN?" It was specific and precise that Femi Falana has opined that by virtue of Section 171, and he said, well, yes, he has heard that opinion by Femi Falana, and, well, it just might be right that he had not averted his mind to it. And that was where it ended. So how can the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, supposedly consisting of distinguished men and women, that is why we call them distinguished senators, will now base their judgment, base a resolution on such comments and react to the executive? At the time he said it, the president was on seat. He was not acting president. And this is not a matter that was ever communicated to you officially. Never was it communicated. Behold, what do? As the monster that you want to portray yourself as, a name is now sent for confirmation. At that point, you now said, somebody reminded you.
And the mere fact that that name was sent to the Senate for confirmation probably suggests that...
So somebody now reminded you that he is reported to have made such a comment. So you used an official communication to shut down official communication. Let's assume, though not considered, that the acting president even was of that view that you had no such powers. But nobody ever communicated that to you. It was not the official position of the presidency. Like the Attorney General said, it was never discussed at the FEC. The president at the time, who was substantive, was around, did not communicate any sort to you. However, even if it was said, even if it was communicated, which is denied, they have now forwarded to you a name for confirmation. Is that not a confirmation to you that they are saying and reiterating that you have the powers? Let's assume the acting president even said it at the time. But today, he has now written to you. Let's assume he even had a rethink. You are now saying, you are now beating and you have been fighting an ego war and saying he has to come and retract. Retract what? What is there to retract? Retract that, oh, I didn't say it to the media. Saying, oh, my legal opinion at that time is no longer a legal opinion. Oh, what is it? Was it communicated to the Senate officially? Look, the acting president is not a member of the Senate, where your rules and ethics possibly would bind. And even if you, summon him, you have the powers to summon him. Why are they not summoning him to come and explain himself? I mean, after all, the Minister of Works, Power and Housing was reported to have made some comments. You summoned that one. Summon the Vice President. You have such powers to summon. Summon him and ask him, did you actually say this? Or send the resolution, Mr. VP, is it true that you said this? You said this, that we have this, no such powers? What is the basis of this assertion?
But
not this, what I will call a psycho show. I mean, look at what happened in the last couple of days. I mean, the issue of INEC and the petition for recall of the senator.
We're definitely going to talk about that. But let me go back to Senator Mamora. Senator Mamora, you look at what is going on, this face-off now between the National Assembly and the presidency. You begin to get the impression that, I don't know how to put it now, that the APC, as a matter of fact, is fighting itself. Because, I mean, let's look at it from the other angle. The majority of the members in the Senate are actually of the APC. The majority of the members in the House of Representatives are of the APC. And even some of the very strong comments coming from the Senate are actually coming from members of the APC.
Oh yes, I mean it's you recall that even in my opening statement, I did say that it's quite unpalatable and quite unfortunate that we're having this kind of situation. That is a government of APC, and both arms of government, the executive and the National Assembly, they are controlled by All Progressives Congress. So if one can liken it to what I would call political autoimmune disease. You see, in medicine, there is what we call autoimmune disease, where the body, the cells of the same human body start to fight that same body. That's autoimmune disease. So it's the same thing. So this is like a political autoimmune disease where members of the same party, either on the executive side or the legislative side, are fighting themselves, and I think this does not augur well for government and of course for the party. So I feel that the party itself, that is the mother of government. I always say the party is the mother of government because the party is the vehicle through which the various positions in government are filled, kind of. That is, political ascendancy takes place through the vehicle of the party. So the party needs to step in, and strongly to broker peace for the, it's in the interest of the people, because it's a situation where you say two elephants fight. It's the grass that suffers. It's governance that will be slowed down, if not totally, ground to a halt. And that is not why the party has been elected into office. So the earlier this situation is nipped in the bud, the better for us all.
I'm still going to come back to you, Senator. Let me come to you, Honorable Ogada. Do you think, in your opinion, you're a lawyer, do you think the retention of Magu as the acting chairman of the EFCC and the statement, of course, credited to the acting president actually amount to an impeachable offense?
No. What is the misconduct? No, what is the misconduct they want to impeach him for? This says misconduct. The president, not the acting president, mind you, the president was the one who sent the name of Magu. First time, it was rejected. Second time, it was rejected. And then the president kept him in office. Till now. Now, the Senate, in its wisdom, passed a resolution that he should be removed as acting chairman. Let us not forget that the powers of the Senate is to confirm a nominee for the position of chairman, not acting chairman. The president is at liberty to appoint anybody to the position of, to act in a position.
The reason why, okay, but go on. Because we saw a senator, for instance, on the floor of the Senate, even calling on people not to attend to the EFCC whenever they are summoned.
Those are some of the irresponsible comments that come out of the mouths of some of our representatives. Let's assume there is even, how would any senator go on air on the floor of the Senate and say, disobey the laws of the land? Because though not considered, the president has disobeyed the law, you too should go and disobey the law. I should not submit to constitutional authority of the EFCC. Is Magu EFCC? You could well say, because we have an issue with the Inspector General of Police, any policeman that stops you on the road, slap him. Don't let him question you. How can you say they should not attend to, they should not listen to the summons of the acting chairman of the EFCC because you have issues over the person who is occupying the position of acting chairman. And the Senate, the law creating EFCC, prescribes that the president should appoint somebody subject to confirmation as substantive chairman. Now you have rejected him as substantive chairman. The president, in his wisdom, now says, okay, continue acting. I will not confirm your appointment. And no law says there is a time limit for an acting appointment. No law says a person, other than for maybe the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Chief Judges of States, Federal High Court, Chief Judge, and Court of Appeal, which prescribes a period of, I think, 3 months maximum for you to act, subject to the law. This one has no limit. So as long as they have not called Magu the substantive chairman of the FCC, I don't see what the presidency has done wrong. The Senate, on its part, has learned to shoot without missing, and the board too has learned to fly without perching. Now, okay, you say you don't want him as substantive chairman, but he can act. Now, you are now giving instructions. Upon what premise are you even making that resolution that it should be removed? You gave reasons for not approving his nomination as chairman. You have not come up with reasons for proposing that it should be removed. They are two different things. So you just get all these things muddled up. A senator gets up on the floor of the Senate, or indeed any legislative house. Perhaps that is why we keep saying, some of us, as I was a legislator, I've kept as advocate. You enjoyed
legislative immunity on the floor.
Yes, on the floor. But that's why we've always advocated that, look, we need competent legislative aides. The senator who made that comment about don't attend to him, or the one who made they could have been well advised. Not just come on the floor on the spur of the moment without, look, that's why some of us will respect some persons who have passed through the bowels of the hallowed chambers. That is why we also will still have some respect for some of them there. Senator Mamora, not because he's here, was a senator that commanded respect of everybody. We knew he was thorough, we knew he knew his job, and we knew he did his research. And that is the way it should be. Like I alluded to what the Senate President did. Okay, you say you will come to that, we should leave that for now. Or the manner in which Senator Yinaya Baribe made his comment, he said it and then busted out laughing. Yes, it may have been meant to be a joke.
But of course,
but
I mean,
it
some
was
people out there in the public won't
too expensive, and it shows the seriousness that he attached to his legislative duties. The one who said, don't listen to any summons of the FCC. I mean, what do we make out of that? He may have been ruled out of order, yes. Even when Abaribe was proposing impeachment and the Senate President ruled him out of order. I mean, yes, that was the right thing for the Senate President to do. But some of these comments were just as leaders. I mean, this country is invested in trust in the hands of the President, 109 senators, and 360 members of the House of Representatives. Altogether, there are 109 plus 360, that is 479 of them, plus the President and his vice. Less than 480 people. You have the faith of over 150 million Nigerians. They have invested their trust in you. And the appeal we will keep making to them is not to abuse this trust.
All right, I'm going to come back to you. Senator Mamora, very quickly, of course, one of the issues we've also, another point of fraction now between the executive and the legislature has been in the area of the budget. I mean, we saw what happened, for instance, with comments now credited to the Minister for Works, Power and Housing when he basically said, that the lawmakers basically, altered his budget by inserting some projects that he did not discuss with them in the first place. And of course, the House of Representatives has now decided to invite him, describing his comments as inciting. How could some of these issues be resolved? And let me even ask you, as a former senator, do senators actually have, or lawmakers, as a matter of fact, actually have the powers to you know, basically insert new items into the budget?
Well, I think I personally have my reservations as to powers of the legislators to insert new items. I think I have my reservations regarding that. You see, no arm of government should stretch its powers beyond what the Constitution allows. Yes, there can be some alteration, but alteration does not necessarily equate to insertion. I mean, for example, when the budget is laid before the legislature, and members are supposed to scrutinize such presentation and look at the possibility of some flaws. For example, at least even when I was in the Senate, I observed that in some instances you will see certain items that had been presented in the previous budget still being presented again, or certain expenditure, that were supposed to have been made, not being made, or an X amount of money has been provided for, and it's in excess of what that purpose is supposed to serve. So these are some of the areas that the legislature will want to look at. Of course, without necessarily increasing the size of that budget, because the executive, through Mr. President, is supposed to prepare that budget and lay it before the National Assembly. And one would have expected that in the course of that preparation, understanding should have taken place based on consultation. And like my colleague there did say, yes, it's not out of place to know what the demands or the desires of the members of the legislature are for their respective constituencies, because they are part and parcel of government. They have responsibilities to their constituents and to their constituencies as a whole. So there ought to have been that interface and proper understanding and proper consultation, and all these things ought to have been agreed upon and built into the budgetary process, so as to make the process of passage of that budget smooth. But where that has not been done, then you will have this kind of thing that we're talking about.
And before we just close this segment, one other issue I want both of you to react to, and I'll start with you, Senator, is the issue of the recall process now of Senator Dino Melaye. We saw that come up in the Senate. Senator Dino Melaye practically or basically asking the Senate to come to his rescue, to intervene in the whole recall process, and quite surprising for some of us. The Senate, actually took a position. We heard from the Deputy Senate President and even the Senate President himself saying that the whole recall process was a waste of time, and that at the end of the day, it will be left to the senators to decide the legitimacy of that process. That the ultimate decision, according to the Senate now, rests with senators. I don't know. Is that the position of is that the position of the Constitution?
Well, well, some of us are not learned, but I think we're educated enough to understand, these provisions, at least within the ambit of education. May not necessarily be within the ambit of the law, because I'm not a lawyer. But having said that, I think it's an issue for INEC. With my understanding of the provision of the Constitution, is an INEC. It's an issue for INEC and not issue for the Senate at all. In the worst scenario, that is why the judiciary is there as the final arbiter. That is where there are disagreements, where there are issues. That is why you have the judiciary. You can approach the court. You can approach the judiciary through the court to seek the correct position on any, issue of law. But the Senate cannot turn itself into a law court. It cannot. It doesn't have that power. I say that with all the boldness in me. But having said that again, I always caution again that people have to understand that the Senate, or any legislature for that matter, is not a judicial institution. Rather, it is a political institution. So, it is not unusual to have, political influences, coming to play in the legislature. I'm only, again, cautioning that this should not be stretched too far. The judiciary, through the court, is there to arbitrate on issues of law. The court is a judicial institution. It's not, the legislature is a political institution. Yes, you tend to have some bit of overlap, because take, for example, the legislature has been given powers under Section 89, power of arrest, which is usually issued by the court. But again, these are just the examples. These are examples of. It's an example of an overlap, but again, it's limited to that power of arrest is limited under a situation where someone has been invited and that person has refused to show up, and of course, it has even vested power to even prescribe fines to be paid, which ordinarily is the power of the court. So these things happen, but in this particular instance, I think I feel comfortable to say that the Senate does not really have a role, to the best of my knowledge and understanding of the workings of the legislature. I think the issue of recall is strictly between the constituency concerned and, of course, INEC coming into play. And where there are issues, one way or the other, it should be for the court to resolve, not for the Senate or any other legislative institution.
Honorable, let me get your own word on this before I close.
Well, I think on this I absolutely align with Senator Mamora, even though he says...
Were you shocked when the Senate actually took that position?
Absolutely.
Because the Deputy Senate President we know is a lawyer.
I was not just shocked, I was disappointed. It was disgusting. And it's not so much, yes, it's your colleague, you want to help him. But if you must help him, it is what you should, the manner and way to help him is to help him during the votes. Is to help him to go and campaign, to go and appeal. Because now it's about appealing. The signatures have been sent. INEC has set a timetable that the process must go through. The Senate ought to wait for the outcome. But for the Senate to even preempt the outcome, because that's what it has done.
Yeah,
it has preempted the outcome. It has passed its final decision. It has told the whole world that if the outcome is unfavorable, we shall not respect the decision of these constituents of Kogi, is it Kogi West, I think?
Yes.
That is what the Senate has told us, that we are not going to respect their decision. That was the most irresponsible, with all respect, comments by my colleague, the Deputy Senate President. I know Dino had been in court himself. The Senator Melai had gone to court to even attempt to stop the process. That is still pending in the courts. And even if the process starts, he can still approach the courts. Even when it is concluded, he can still approach the courts. Why would the Senate not allow this? What the Senate has simply done is telling us, in an election, for instance, maybe there is a by-election somewhere, it has simply telling us, whatever the outcome of the elections, we will not respect, we will do whatever which we want. For instance, if the Supreme Court or the Court of Appeal, which has final say on issues of Senate disputes about elections on Senate, decides that, okay, the man there is not the lawfully elected person, and that INEC should issue a certificate of returns to another, and they present that certificate, the Senate is simply telling us we shall not respect the decision of the courts. Neither can we will respect the outcome of an electoral process.
But does the Senate,
because let me tell you for free.
I mean, going by the Constitution, does the Senate actually have a role to play in this? Because my understanding is that, once the process is completed, all that is required is just to pass.
It's an electoral process.
Pass it on to the Senate.
In fact,
so
what Senate
should
is
it be subject, whatever the outcome is, should it be subject to the decision?
That's why I said they are interfering with an electoral process. This is clear interference by saying we shall not respect the outcome. That's why you call it a waste of time. And even if it was a waste of time, as they want to make us believe, they have even no powers or rights to even debate it. Even if a senator says he can only approach you privately, it is an issue between him and his constituents, not even between him and INEC. He could well have told the Senate to summon the INEC chairman to come and explain why they're even going ahead with the process.
It's not impossible that we're going to see that.
That is where we are. It is not impossible to pass a resolution and say, INEC, you must not do it. It is not impossible. The issue should not even come out at all on the floor of the Senate. The only time it should have come up on the floor of the Senate is after the process is completed and the man comes out victorious. You may congratulate him. And if the process succeeds and is asked to leave the Senate, you might do a valedictory session for him. You should not discuss it at all. That is what they've done. I mean, I know Senator Sekibo has been, I think, reversed, and the Election Pension Tribunal has said he was not duly elected. He has gone to the Court of Appeal. So I'm sure why the appeal is pending. Maybe the senator will walk up one day on the matter of the floor of the Senate and say, Senate, please help me. And the Senate might also, Mr. Ekweremadu will simply stand up and say whatever the decision of the Court of Appeal is a waste of their time. We will decide what we want here. That's exactly the message they are sending across, that they are going to interfere with the electoral and judicial process. That was infantile. It was an assault on the sensibilities of Nigerians. It was an assault on the voting rights of the people of Kogi West. It's an insult on the institution they call the National Assembly, and it's a monumental disgrace that the Deputy Senate, the two highest ranking officers of the Senate, will make such unfortunate comments. The whole world is
funny enough, the Senate President actually posted it on his Facebook page. Anyway, thank you very much for coming on the program. All right, Senator Olorunniyi Mamarawo, thank you very much for joining us on the program, and thank you very much for your time. Honorable Babatunde Ogala, thank you very much, and we'll wait and see how things unfold. We'll take a short break now, and when we come back, we'll be discussing something else. Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on DEJI360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.